Previously on the Skip and Josh podcast.
I'm going to do something really weird now. I'm going to talk about something that I'm going to tell you that I don't want to talk about, which is something that I do a lot.
Yeah. The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello.
Skippy, how are you?
Good morning. What's happening?
A lot's happening here in Toronto. It's exciting to be awake. I have a huge day planned, but of course I will not forego recording our weekly podcast.
It's a huge day in Toronto because it's the MLS Cup final, which is probably not one of the things that you have planned.
You're absolutely right. I wasn't even going to mention it, to be honest.
I'm going to try to watch it for sure. I don't have a rooting interest. We're not going to start talking about soccer. So but leave it to say that I am going to watch it.
I'll just say this about soccer. Our soccer guest that I was efforting fell through, and it's not going to happen. Now, it's interesting. I said it's a big day, and the first thing you went to was the MLS Cup.
Well, it's the biggest sporting event that's going on today.
Well, according to you.
Yeah. Okay.
According to me, I finally get to see Duke on television at noon against Boston College on TSN2.
Well, thank you for that public service announcement because I would have completely forgotten.
There you go.
It's just a public service announcement.
So now I definitely will watch. So that's actually the beginning of the ACC season.
Yes, which is funny because normally the ACC season doesn't start until January.
Right.
But I guess they started a little earlier.
I'm so confused with who's in the ACC and who's not in the ACC at this point.
It is very confusing.
I hate it.
The other thing that's confusing is that the ACC tourney, which is usually in North Carolina or Georgia or wherever, is in Brooklyn this year.
Why?
I don't know. They just
want a venue.
I think it was in Brooklyn last year also, and
it was, yeah.
They want to make it a bigger deal. You know how like the Big East tournament is always at Madison Square Garden?
I know, but why don't you put it in a venue that's like in your conference, like geographically in your conference?
Because I think they're gonna they think they're gonna get more fans.
Right, they want to go national
because a lot of grads from Duke work in New York and live in New York.
Yeah.
So,
sure. No, I get it. They want to go they want to be they want to be the national conference, the big conference that everybody wants to watch.
Exactly.
And they probably are already, so what do they care,
So you're funny because yesterday you texted me, you said you have nothing to talk about. But what always ends up happening is we always end up talking for like an hour because we got tons to talk about.
Yeah, well, after I texted you, I did write down two things that I wanted to talk about, two big things that kind of happened this week in sports. So I don't know if you have anything or not, but
before we get to those, because we've been talking about Duke and college basketball, I want to stay sort of in the same realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that your household, even though you live in Montreal, your household, at least the male people in your household, are Philadelphia fans.
Yes.
Eagles and Sixers, if I'm not mistaken.
Eagles and Sixers, not Flyers, because,
of course,
we're in Montreal, so it's like the Habs take over. And actually, Matthew did start kind of rooting for the Phillies. He wants them to do well, even though he doesn't really, baseball's not like on so much of his radar.
Just tell him about Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton.
He knows. He knows that from the video games.
So my first question for you is, what the hell happened to Jahlil Okafor? He was great at Duke. He had a good rookie season, and now this year he's played 26 minutes and he got traded for a bag of beans.
They actually traded him for nothing.
That's what I just said.
They actually didn't trade him for nothing. They actually paid to trade him. You know what I mean? They gave more so they could give him away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they gave him and they gave a draft pick. They had to sweeten the deal to get him off their hands, which is absolutely ridiculous. But
is he that bad?
To me, it's like the classic case where he could have stayed in college and would have become a better overall player. He's a big man who can score. He's an offensive player. He definitely has offensive capability. But for a guy who's his size, he's He doesn't rebound. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't block shots. Like, there's so many deficiencies there. The comparable guy that I see to him in the NBA, not that you're such an NBA guy, but Enes Kanter, who used to be on Oklahoma City, who's actually now on the Knicks, that's the kind of guy that I see him as, a kind of 6th or 7th man that'll come off the bench and can score from the post. But I don't see him being like a major impact player. That being said, if you are, like for instance, my son is in a NBA fantasy basketball league with his friends, and I told him you should pick up Okafor because he's gonna get minutes now on Brooklyn and he's gonna put up numbers, right? He's gonna score now. So I don't know. I feel, it's so funny because that Duke team, was so good. I love them so much.
Didn't they win?
All those guys.
Did that team win the championship?
Yeah, of course. Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow, Okafor, right? None of them are doing anything in the NBA.
Well,
right?
Justice Winslow's good, I thought.
Justice Winslow was a high draft pick, but he's not doing anything in the NBA. He's not really a good player. Tyus Jones is coming off the bench for Minnesota. He's starting to find his niche now as a backup point guard, possibly a starter. I don't know. Okafor, you know how he is. The forgotten man from that Duke team, Quinn Cook, actually is starting now for the Golden State Warriors at point guard because Curry's out.
Right, you're right. I completely forgot about Quinn Cook.
He's getting big minutes on Golden State because Curry's injured. So I love Quinn Cook, and I hope that this 2, 3, 5 weeks while Curry's injured, I hope Cook can find his, can impress some people and really get an NBA career out of it. It would be great because he was like so dominant in the D League. This guy, well, it's called the G League now, actually.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask you. When did they change the name of that league, and why?
Last year or the year before. It's because Gatorade is like the sponsor. It's the G.
But I thought it was D for developmental league.
Yeah, but they, you get a title sponsor. You change the name of the whole league.
Sure,
why not?
So it's funny you mentioned about Okafor not playing defense. I remember I heard Coach K say when Okafor was on Duke that I think his quote was, "No, Okafor can play defense. He just chooses not to."
But I think that's the case of so many players in the NBA. And in not the NFL, because the NFL, you don't play both sides of the ball. There's offensive players and defensive players. But hockey, the same thing. The Canadians are going through the same thing right now with Alex Galchenyuk. Like what happened this week? The Habs lost again in overtime. And again, we talked about it already. Again, he starts off the overtime with Plekanec on the ice. Right? Like, what about Galchenyuk? Well, I mean, Drouin's injured, but what about Byron? Like, we have game breakers the Habs have game breakers with speed for 3-on-3. No, he puts out like a more defensive alignment. And they asked him the coach about it again after the game, and he said, I didn't like the way Galchenyuk, he called him out actually. I don't think Galchenyuk played well along the boards tonight. Basically saying like, he's not paying attention to his defensive part of the game and he only wants to play offense, which is true, right? And it goes exactly to what you said. If you want to play defense, you can play defense. It's all effort. Defense is like, 75-80% of what you have to do in defense is just effort, hustle, get in the right position, be in the right spot, pay attention to, use as much energy as when you don't have the ball or don't have the puck as when you do have the ball or do have the puck. And anyways, I can't believe we just talked for 10 minutes about Jahlil Okafor.
Well, I'm not done with basketball. So there's another connection between the Sixers and Duke, which I'm going to bring up right now.
Which is?
Well, which is Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
On the Sixers is having an excellent year, and from all accounts, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year if he continues at this pace.
Yes.
Now, the thing is, he actually was drafted last year and should have been a rookie last year, but didn't play.
Yeah, he was hurt the whole year.
Right. So if it's because of that injury, or if you want to say what the announcers say, the Sixers like to redshirt all their rookies.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So if it wasn't for Ben Simmons getting redshirted last year, former Dookie Jason Tatum would be the Rookie of the Year this year.
Well, Jason Tatum, first of all, he's amazing. Now, yes, Simmons might be Rookie of the Year, but I think as the season goes on, and the Celtics stay in first place in the East, or let's say second, maybe Cleveland will catch them. I think the buzz for Tatum is gonna, the buzz for the Rookie of the Year. Simmons jumped out of the gate real hot, right? But now Tatum's gonna catch him. The buzz is gonna change, and the talk is gonna be around Tatum. Tatum's leading the league in 3-point field goal percentage. He's shooting the highest 3-point percentage in the whole league.
I didn't know that.
And the thing with Ben Simmons is he's basically playing point guard on the Sixers, so the ball's in his hands all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Tatum is like the fourth option on the Celtics. He's only getting the ball when they need, they don't design plays around this guy, and he's still averaging like 15 points a game. So right now, Danny Ainge is a genius because he traded that. They had the number 1 pick. He's like, I don't want it. You guys go take, take Fultz. I don't want him. And we're going to be happy with the guy that we know is the best player in the draft, and we'll take him third, right? And that's what they did, and they look like geniuses. And Markelle Fultz, I don't know, he's like MIA, right?
I heard that he was spotted in practice shooting with his other hand.
Yeah, they say he has like a structural problem with his shoulder that like they don't know what to do about it now. Like it could be the biggest bust ever.
Well, we have a lot of big busts in pro sports.
Of course, yeah.
Like remember the time was it Minnesota that picked was it Anthony Bennett?
Oh, well.
Or was it Cleveland that picked Anthony Bennett?
He's out of the league now. He's not even in the NBA, that guy.
Yeah.
These GMs, they want to show everybody that they're smarter than everybody else, so they go off the board, Yeah. All right, more NBA talk. What else do you have about basketball? That's it.
Well, I have yet another basketball story that I wanted to talk about.
Go for it.
And this is, again, it's a combination of pro basketball and college basketball.
Right, sure.
And I'm surprised that we have not talked about this at all in the last, I don't know how many months. But it all has to do...
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued right now.
It all has to do with LeVar Ball.
I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about LeVar Ball. Anytime someone talks about LeVar Ball, it just makes LeVar Ball more talk about him. He gets the word out. If everybody would stop talking about this guy, he'd be a nobody. No one would care.
He's a clown.
But everybody gives him the mic. People have the mic in his face.
Well, he's not going to be on our show. We're not going to have him on our show. He's a clown. I don't know if you heard. We won't even rehash all the stuff that he's done in the past, but just this week. So, he's got 2 other sons that are playing basketball. One's in college, one's in high school. He took his high school son out of school, took him out of school, says he's going to homeschool him.
Yeah.
Then his other son, who was at UCLA, who got arrested in China for shoplifting.
Yeah, he took him out of UCLA.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
He took that kid out of UCLA, and now he's saying that he wants to package both his kids and have them play together on a team in Europe.
I feel bad for the kids. I feel bad for all the Ball kids. And Lonzo, I mean, he's quiet, right? Like, when you see the father and then you see the son, I don't know the other 2 sons. Like, they're not really you don't really hear them talk ever. But Lonzo's an NBA player now, right? You hear him. He's very soft-spoken, Lonzo Ball. He's quiet. He's almost shy, right? He's the polar opposite of his father, and you feel the embarrassment of his father on him. Like, you feel like I feel for them. I feel for all of them because they have this loudmouth father who, like, he's basically like pimping out his kids. Like it's anything to like sell shoes, and of course he wants to send them to Europe. He's gonna make those kids go play in Europe, and they're gonna force whatever team signs them to sign with the big baller brand shoes, right? Like, that's what he's trying to do.
Right.
Yeah. First of all, the one that left UCLA was never going to be in the NBA.
Right. He's not even that good.
No, he wasn't even playing for UCLA. That's why they took him out. That's why he took him out of school. But I don't know if LeVar Ball realizes, you can't just go to another school now. When you transfer, you have to sit out a year. So I don't
think he's planning on ever getting him back to university. He says,
well, then he'll never get drafted.
No, he could like, if he plays in Europe for a year, he could get drafted.
I guess. But what about the one who's in high school? Apparently he's a huge prospect, as good as Lonzo.
Well, same thing. Like, if he plays in Europe for a couple of years, as soon as he's old enough, he could play in the NBA.
But don't you think going for a year at UCLA is going to make his draft prospects higher than going to play in Europe?
I think so. However, there have been players that have come out of Europe that never played NCAA that are actually pretty good.
Yeah, the best quote is he's like, "I'm gonna make them better basketball players than UCLA could." As if.
Right.
As if.
And
right?
he also
Come on.
said that he expects all 3 of the kids to be playing on the same NBA team at the same time, which, if he can pull that off, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. That's just mental. I mean, he's... you gave... I don't even know what to say. You know, honestly?
You're riled up. Okay, we'll change the subject.
I don't want to talk about LeVar Ball anymore, except to say that, you know how I love to throw in these Seinfeld little sound clips into the episodes?
Yeah, it's my favorite part of listening to the show.
There's only one word to sum up LeVar Ball. Mental defective.
I mean, only a sick, twisted mind could be that rude and ignorant.
Well, maybe some mental defective put something stupid on her leg.
Even if this so-called mental defective did put something on her leg, she's still the one who laughed.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. What else you got? You have more basketball on your list?
No more basketball. What do you got?
I've got 2 big things that happened this week.
Let's hear it.
The NHL is going to expand to Seattle.
Is that official?
No, it's not official, but they've given them permission to give to do an application, which is they've gone down the same path they did with Vegas. It's like
And
the
Quebec.
same thing. No, Quebec, they never did this because Quebec...
No, they let Quebec give an application. In fact,
Yeah,
they
but-
charged Quebec $1 million just to give the application, a non-refundable $1 million.
Yeah, but Quebec never said you guys can do a season ticket drive, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
And now, from what I heard, is they're making them give a $10 million deposit. $2 million, I think, is unrefundable, or $1 million is unrefundable.
Like, how did these leagues get away with this?
Well, the biggest thing that the NHL is getting away with right now, which is it's I don't understand how the ownership group in Seattle is even like tolerating this. They're charging them. They want to charge them $650 million franchise expansion fee. That's how much the Seattle ownership group is going to pay the NHL for the privilege of having an NHL team. $650 million.
They'll pay it. That's the crazy
Yeah,
thing. They'll pay
but
it.
Vegas paid $500 million last year.
I know, but it goes up every year. You know how these things work.
$150 million extra.
The thing is, they can charge whatever price they want to charge. It's
can.
not like you go to a grocery store and you're buying tomatoes. You can just charge whatever you want.
So, look, I think Seattle's a great choice. I think it's a great market. It's a huge city. When you look at the business foundation in Seattle, Amazon, Hewlett-Packard, all the aviation companies are there. You know, like Boeing, whatever. You know, like, well, Starbucks. But, like, there's so much huge corporate culture in Seattle that you have a lot of people with a lot of money ready to spend on tickets, you know, and season tickets.
You know, they used to have a basketball team.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're going to play at the same arena.
And I
The
think
Key
they used to
Arena.
have a hockey team too, way back, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they?
I don't know. Maybe back.
I thought
in
they
the day.
did.
Yeah, well, they've had many like AHL teams and junior teams, right?
Yes.
In that area of like the Pacific Northwest, hockey, there is like a hockey culture, right?
Yeah.
But,
It's
look,
not that far from Vancouver.
So you saw who one of the owners is. It's very weird connection. It's Jerry Bruckheimer. So this is the guy. He's like a huge Hollywood movie producer, right? It's like,
Is he still though? I haven't heard about him in years.
you haven't, but I mean, the guy's probably got like more money than like who knows how much money he has, right? I mean, it's mental. It's crazy, right? So I'm happy for the people of Seattle, but I feel bad for the people of Quebec. They're getting like passed over, you know?
Yeah, they're getting hosed. You knew that Bettman was going to hose them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the priority for the league is to expand into the United States. They want to get bigger and bigger, and Quebec is a small city in Canada, right?
I'm surprised Bettman allowed a team to
Winnipeg.
move to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. So the best thing that happened this whole week with the NHL expansion is, are you still watching the Jay and Dan SC with Jay and Dan?
I watch it sometimes. I usually watch it like the next morning because I can't stay up that late.
Right. So they purposely, they talked about this story about the NHL moving to Seattle. And when they showed footage of Bettman, they didn't talk about it, but I know for a fact, I'm 100% sure, they purposely chose this footage of Bettman going up the escalator which was used over and over and over during the lockout.
It's the only B-roll they have of him.
Yeah, but they kept showing that B-roll of Bettman going up the escalator. It was a beautiful thing.
We got that B-roll. We got that B-roll.
You know we do.
To order your B-roll, call 1-800-BBB-ROLL. That's 1-800-BBB-ROLL. Call now.
It's pretty sad when you watch sports and all you see more people in boardrooms and on elevators than you actually see sports highlights these days.
Well, I mean, that's the way it's going. So, look, I'm happy for Seattle, and I hope they get a team. But, I mean, I feel like Quebec's getting screwed, you know?
They
I
are.
just don't understand how they could charge $150 million more than they charge Vegas. To me, that doesn't make sense. And now they're going to have to realign, right? You notice? You know what's going to happen now? Clearly, Seattle has to go to the Pacific.
Well, they have to go to the West, yeah.
Yeah, and the Pacific, right? I mean, who else is on the more of the Pacific than Seattle? They're on the ocean. They're in the water. You know?
And right now, I don't even know. Right now, are there more teams in the East or the Western Conference? I don't even know.
Yeah. The West has one less.
Oh, okay. Well, that's part of the reason why they don't want Quebec City.
Yeah, but the thing is, the divisional alignment's going to be different. So I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, a friend of the show, David Alter, was tweeting this week saying there's a possibility that the divisions could be realigned, or the whole playoff format may be realigned because of Seattle coming into the league.
They should do what his idea was, where the team that finishes first gets to pick who they get to play.
I would love that, but you know that's not happening.
It's not happening.
No. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is what we always say about Major League Baseball, it's the gift that keeps on giving, right?
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
There's always something to talk about baseball. Mm-hmm. You know, the season's already been over for like 2 months, and there should be nothing really going on yet. There's 2 big stories happening in baseball right now. Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton, what's going to happen with him? Clearly, he's going to get traded. And the other big thing is this Japanese guy, Otani, right? I don't know how to pronounce his first name. And you know how bad I am at pronouncing names, so I won't even try.
Even English names you have trouble
Otani.
with.
Yeah, I know. So he signed yesterday with the California Angels.
Anaheim Angels. Sorry,
Anaheim
Los Angeles Angels.
Los Angeles Angels and Anaheim. So he signed with the Angels yesterday, which is, I mean, if he's as good as everybody says, it's huge, right?
Well, I had this conversation with someone yesterday when I heard that he signed, and I was going to bring it up. I forgot, and thank you for mentioning it. Mm-hmm. Is this guy like? Is he really like a Cy Young candidate and an MVP hitter? Like, is he really that good?
From what I've read and listened to about him, is he's a much better pitcher than he is a hitter. Mm-hmm. I think they're looking at him as a real potential, number 1 starter. Mm-hmm. Like that's his projection, right? He throws 100 miles an hour, fastball. He's not like he's 23. He's still young, so he's in his prime, you know. So I think teams are looking at him as this amazing pitcher, but the fact that he can hit, I don't know. Like, you know how professional sports culture is. They're gonna baby this guy. They're gonna say, no, we only want him to pitch. And then all this hype about him playing both sides, both ways, it's probably going to disappear. I hope it doesn't, because everybody wants to see him hit also.
Yes,
right?
I'd like to see that.
I want to see him play right field when he's not pitching.
Well, I heard he's going to DH, and that's why he wanted to play for an American League team.
Well, DH, even better, right? So he doesn't even have to field. So I want to see him DH when he's not pitching.
Me too.
Which would be amazing. So imagine the Angels lineup when the days when he actually pitches. Never mind just the days when someone else is pitching.
Well, when he pitches, he's not going to hit, I'm told.
Well, that's mental.
No, because when he pitches, he's going to just pitch.
Well, that's
how I understood it.
I don't like that, because the whole beauty of it is that you have your pitcher batting fourth. How good would that be?
It would be cool to see. Like, not since Babe Ruth.
Well, like, I was doing some research yesterday about, not since Babe Ruth, basically, right? A few years ago, there was this pitcher, I don't know if he was on the Brewers or the Cubs. You remember him? Brooks Kieschnick?
Actually, I don't.
Anyways, I remember him. I think he's on the Brewers, and there was talk about that he was going to play a field of position when the days he wasn't pitching, but it never panned out. Obviously. What do you think? Do you think Madison Bumgarner could DH if he was in the American League?
Yes, you know what it is. All these guys who make it to the majors, when they were
Yeah.
kids,
Oh,
they
I was
were
gonna
the
say the same
best
thing.
hitter on their team, and they were the best pitcher on their team. All
Every
of them.
player in the major leagues, every single one, even Kyle Schwarber, who's fat, even fat out of shape guys, played shortstop and pitched when they were in high school and then when they were
And
kids.
batted cleanup.
Yeah, every one of them. And then at
So-
a certain point, they get specialized, right?
Who is that pitcher on the Cardinals who he couldn't hit the strike zone and he was
Yeah.
out of baseball and then he made a comeback as a hitter?
Yeah, Rich Ankiel,
That's right.
right? He
Yeah,
was
Rick
supposed to be
Ankiel. Wasn't it Rick?
Sorry, yeah, Rick. Sorry, he was supposed to be the greatest pitcher ever, and he had a kind of psychological problem. At a certain point, the pressure got to him. I did write a little article on our website last year because there was all this. It was during the Bell Let's Talk campaign about mental diseases and psychological problems like that, and all the pressure. He admits now that it's all the pressure that he literally couldn't throw a strike. He literally could not throw a strike. And then he left baseball and he came back as a hitter and he was good, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure most of these guys, if they wanted to be hitters, they could. So I hope Ohtani hits because everybody wants to see it, right? And I don't want him to just become a pitcher. I hope it doesn't happen. That's all.
I'm with you. I do hope they let him hit, and that's something that I actually would, make plans to watch.
Yeah, it's good for
must-see TV.
baseball. Yeah, it's good for baseball if he plays both ways, right? Mm-hmm. For the excitement of it, right? People will want to see that.
Agreed.
Well, just the attendance in Anaheim is going to be great. Everyone's going to want to come out and see him no matter what.
Agreed.
I can't wait to see all the Japanese ads in the stadium on the days that he's playing.
Well, only on the days that he's playing?
Well, I don't know, but you know how it is, right? A lot of times, there's a bajillion people in Japan, right? So they're not dumb. The advertisers, they know who's watching, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And the other big story in baseball is Giancarlo Stanton. I really don't know where he's going to end up. I just find it sad. I just find it sad that the Marlins are just up to their old tricks again, and
Well, I mean, it's a completely different ownership group, so you can't really
It
say
is.
they're up to
It
their
is.
old tricks because they've only owned the team not even for a full year.
yeah. But I mean, I guess they're saying we're going to rebuild, and they're going to try to trade him for a whole bunch of draft picks.
Well, they
Or
already
prospects.
traded D. Gordon,
Yeah.
and I mean, clearly they feel that this contract, it's hamstringing them. Is that even a word? Hamstringing?
I guess.
That they can't do anything else because they've got so much money tied up in this one player.
Well, I mean, it's the only player they're paying, basically. They're going to just become the lowest payroll team in the league, and they're going to try to rebuild. And
Well, listen, that worked for
at least
Houston.
they have a plan. At least they have a plan. I
It
guess,
worked for
right?
Houston.
It worked for Houston. Yeah.
And apparently, so here's the thing. I asked you this question a long time ago. So he has a no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a player and a team wants to trade you, why would you not waive your no trade clause? Why would you want to stay with the team that doesn't want you?
No, I think in this situation with Stanton, it's not that he doesn't want to get traded. He wants to choose where he wants to go.
Right. And so apparently,
So if they say we're trading you to Cincinnati, or we're trading you to, Atlanta, I don't know, somewhere where he doesn't want to go,
right.
he's going to say no. And
One
he's
of the
gonna
teams
force them.
teams that said they wanted him.
Is the Yankees.
Well, yeah, but also St. Louis.
Yeah.
But he said he doesn't want to go to St. Louis. And I'm surprised, to be honest, because St. Louis is a great baseball city.
And it's in our lifetime, let's say, it's probably one of the top 3 or 4 organizations.
Yeah.
Right? They've always been competitive. Right?
And they always have a shot to win it.
They were competitive when we were kids, and up till last year, they were still last year was their first down year in a while, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna end up on the Red Sox or the Yankees, don't you?
It's looking more and more like the Yankees right now.
Imagine him and Judge batting back to back in the order, and Gary Sanchez.
Derek Jeter's doing a favor to his former team.
Oh, I don't like that.
Well, he is.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. But that'll be a scary lineup if with him and Judge together.
It would be not normal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of power. Although, look, Stanton, I mean, it will be fun to see Stanton on a good team. Let's just say, right? Because he's been on bad teams where he's been the only guy there.
Right.
And he kind of has to do everything. But I mean, he also has to stay healthy too, right? He has this history of, I mean, he's been injured a lot.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that.
So teams that are trading for him, they're paying him a lot of money, so he better stay on the field. Although if he goes to the American League, he could DH from time to time, right?
Yeah, but he never got injured in the field. He got injured,
No, but
hitting.
I'm just saying to give him a break or.
And one of the injuries, he got hit in the face. That's not his fault. I mean.
That's because he has a huge face.
Well, now he wears that face shield.
Yeah, I know.
Which, by the way, I would wear every single time. I would wear it even if I was playing.
You're talking about that extra little flap on the helmet to cover like your jaw?
Yeah, a lot of guys are wearing that now.
I know. Why wouldn't you?
I would totally wear it.
To me, the first time I saw it, I'm like, this is brilliant, It's clearly like some kind of hack, right? I don't think the helmet, when I looked at this year, I don't think the helmet companies came to major leagues and said, look at this great helmet we have. It has this flap. I think it was like a trainer or an equipment manager that said, hey, we're going to add this thing. And they did it themselves,
Well,
I
think it's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. Like the trainers said, oh, we want to add something. They went to the company that makes the helmet and said, we need you to attach this on.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So it's there's always new stuff. That's all I got, Cubby.
I got one more thing.
I have one more thing too, yeah. But small. but small. Yeah. Go ahead.
So mine is this could be a long conversation, but I was thinking about this the other day. I've been to many sporting events. I enjoy going to sporting events. But you and I have talked how I can't sit through an entire football game because when you're at the game, in person, there's so much time where nothing's going on.
Nothing. Zero.
And like, even though I like hockey, and hockey's not the same as football, there's something going on almost all the time other than the intermission.
Yeah.
But I even have less interest in going to hockey games now. Part of it is because the ticket prices are so high as well.
Yeah.
So it's gotten to the point now where the only sport or league that I'm willing to pay money to go see is now NCAA basketball. That's the only one.
And you don't even have one in your city. You have to travel to it.
But I would travel.
Right. Okay. I could see that. So look, I went to a Habs game this year. I didn't pay a lot for the tickets. I have to admit. I'm going again later on this year to a Habs game. Someone gave me tickets already, so that's cool. But like, I'm not dishing out a lot of money for that. Mm-hmm. I like going to Major League Baseball. Although, like, if you think football's hard to watch, I mean, baseball is so long, right?
Baseball to me is not long at all, though.
Because
that's just me.
Baseball is very social when you go to the game. You sit there, you have a beer, you go get some nachos. 3 innings later, you go get some food. 3 innings later, you go get some ice cream. You know what I mean? You sit around. If you're not looking at every play, it's fine. Like, there's a very relaxed flow to going to see a Major League Baseball game. As opposed to, like, I remember, I've only ever been to one NFL game, but it's like every third down when your team's on defense, every third down, everyone stands up. It's like, pay attention now, right? Like, so, yeah, I don't know. Look, we've said it so many times, right? Sports on television is so good now. Like, why do you need to go, right?
You don't need to go.
You don't need to go.
Which reminds me, did you end up securing tickets to an Eagles game?
I'm working on that.
Okay.
I couldn't get the person who I asked you for his contact info.
Mm-hmm.
I did reach him.
Okay.
And he has season tickets for the Eagles still. He told me, but he sold all his tickets already. He basically told me that he gets his season tickets the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. He picks 1 or 2 games that he's going to go to because he doesn't even live in Philadelphia.
Right.
He usually goes to 1, maybe 2 games a year out of the 8, and he sells the rest right away. Right. He sells them like from day one.
I know a lot of people who do that, actually. A friend of mine has Viking season tickets. He does that. And
Yeah.
another friend of mine has Habs season tickets, and he doesn't live in Montreal, and he does that.
There's there's tickets available to that Eagles game we want to go to on StubHub or on SeatGeek. There are tickets available. I could go. It's getting there. That's a problem. I don't want to drive in the winter there. I just don't want to. And flying, it starts to get expensive to go to Philadelphia for a game, although I haven't ruled it out yet. So Mark is listening to this podcast for sure.
Okay.
He told me, hey, how come you guys didn't talk about how the Flyers suck? Well, Mark, we're talking right now. The Flyers suck.
Well, they're kind of the opposite of the Canadiens. They started off great,
Yeah.
and now they're bad.
Yeah, now they're bad.
But
So,
I mean, you're never as bad as you think you are, and you're never as good as you think you are.
Yeah, so I'm trying to work it out with Mark about that Eagles game, which is on Christmas Day, which is a little bit more complicated too for a bunch of reasons. So last week, you said, hey, you found a new podcast that you subscribe to, The Daily. I did check it out, but it's all about politics. I didn't feel like listening to that.
Actually, the day after, there was
Yeah.
a story that had nothing to do with politics.
Anyways, that's fine. I checked it out. I kind of looked at the episodes and I kind of skimmed it. And then I told you I unsubscribed from a podcast that I was fed up with. But in the theme of like subscribe, unsubscribe, I did find a new podcast this week that I did subscribe to.
Okay, well, let's
Do you
hear
watch do you watch the show Top Chef? I know you don't.
it. No, I don't watch it.
But have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Okay, so it's season 15 started just 2 days ago.
15. I never would have guessed there was that many seasons.
I've watched them all.
And are you a better chef now than you were before?
No, it's not like you don't
It's
learn
not-
how to cook
Right,
from
it's
that
a competition thing.
show. Yeah. So anyways, I found a new podcast this week called Pack Your Knives. It's a Top Chef podcast. What's interesting about it is the two guys that are the hosts, Kevin Arnautovitz and Tom Haberstroh. I know who they are.
Those names
because-
are a mouthful to say.
Yeah, they're NBA basketball writers, and they're both frequent guests on the Bill Simmons podcast or the Ringer basketball podcasts, right?
So
There's
what do they have
several
to do with cooking?
They just decided they were both Top Chef fans. They talk about it in the first episodes. It's so much like you and me. When I listen to the first episode, I'm like, this is me and you, right? But kind of they're like in reverse. They got together. They're not. I don't know if they live in. I think they live. I'm not even sure if they live in the same city or whatever. But they said they get together or they talk in person or they talk on the phone, and they start talking about basketball because that's what their profession is, and they both work in basketball. But they both love Top Chef, so they had these crazy long conversations about Top Chef, and super long analysis and all kinds of crazy stuff. And they said, why don't we just make a podcast and record our conversations? These are gold, right?
Gold,
So
Jerry,
it's-
gold.
Yeah, gold, Jerry, gold.
Why do they call it Ovaltine? The mug is round, the jar is round. They should call it Roundtine. That's gold, Jerry. Gold!
So it's so much like how we decided to start a podcast. Just like, we're talking about this stuff anyways. Let's just record it and put it online for people to listen to.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. But what was amazing about what they did in the first 2 episodes, one of them did this whole statistical analysis about Top Chef. You know, if you win, I found out if you win the first challenge, the first elimination challenge, I don't want to get into how the show works because you don't care, but if you win the first elimination challenge, that person has a 43% chance of winning the season if they win the first challenge.
That's hilarious.
And they did all these stats. He figured out all these stats, and then in episode 2, they did a draft. They did a Top Chef fantasy draft.
This is great.
Where they each picked all the contestants, and they have all these rules about, you get a certain amount of points if you win a competition. If you lose a competition, you get minus. Like, they have all this. Like, there's a whole rule book around it.
It's like
I
people
just
who
thought
do
it
a
was great.
Survivor pool.
It's like
for the
it's
show
similar,
Survivor, not for football.
No. The show Survivor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or
Very,
like
very similar.
Or a bachelor pool.
Oh, I know tons of people who do those. So, just to say, I did subscribe to the Pack Your Knives podcast, and so far I'm enjoying it.
Okay,
Anything?
great.
Do you have anything that you subscribe to or unsubscribe to? It doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be like it's just something you decided you didn't like or you did like, or you don't have anything.
I don't have anything, but I have a story that I think is funny, and it has to do with
Okay.
subscribing to something, but it wasn't me that did
Perfect.
it.
I love it.
This happened to a coworker of mine. So her and her husband watch the show Stranger Things, which as you watch it as well.
Yes. I do.
And you know how it is. I mean, everyone who has Netflix knows you watch a show. If you stop somewhere, when you come back, it just starts off where you left off.
Right. And you know what I love about Netflix? When you end one episode, the other one just starts right away.
Right.
It
Exactly.
gives you like 20 seconds and then it starts. You don't have to
Well,
do
I'm
anything.
glad you mentioned that because
Oh.
this colleague of mine also happens to own Google Home, where you say, "Okay, Google, play Stranger Things," and it just plays it.
Who is this person? Can you put me in touch with them? I want to know if it's good or not.
I will. Well, after this story, that might answer your question.
Okay.
So anyway, I didn't hear the entire story because I wasn't, standing right there. But I think this is basically what happened. They were watching TV one night, not Stranger Things. They were watching something else. And, the Google Home commercial came on television.
Oh, no.
And in the commercial, it says, "Okay, Google, play Stranger Things." So unbeknownst to them, it started to play Stranger Things. They didn't see it on the screen or anything because they were watching something else.
Oh, but it was playing it on their console or wherever Netflix is going.
Correct.
But the TV didn't display it, right?
Correct. And when they went back to watch Stranger Things, it was at a completely different spot and they had no clue where they were.
That's so good. So basically, you got to watch out with that Google Home. I wonder, that must have happened to so many people though, right?
Well, I mean, you have to have seen the commercial.
That commercial's
the television,
on all the time.
and the television needs to be close enough to where your
That it's
Google
gonna
Home
hear.
is.
And it says the exact right thing in the exact clarity that you need to say it in. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at this Google Home, or let's say like the Amazon has their own, right? Alexa. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wonder if it's good. I don't know. Seems like something interesting.
Joe and Carly have it.
They do.
Yes.
What do they do with it?
Well, it's funny. They were here the other day. This is great. You're going to love this. So they were here at my place the other day. And in addition to having, I don't know if it's the Google one or it's the Amazon one.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, they also have a camera in their home so they can monitor their home while they're away.
Yeah, a lot of people have that now. Yeah.
So those are two separate things. So he showed me on his phone, he showed me a live shot of his home
Right.
while he was here.
Yeah.
And as he was showing it to me, you're allowed to talk to your home. Like if there's someone there, you can push a button on your phone and they will
can speak
hear
to
you.
them. Yeah, you're like, hey, what are you doing at my door?
Right.
Yeah.
So he pushes the button on his phone and he says, "Okay, Google, turn on the Christmas lights." And lo and behold, the Christmas tree lights turned on. It was hilarious.
I want to know how to do that. All right, I have a project now during the Christmas time to research this Google, because the Google Home Mini, which is a small one, it's like $30. It's not expensive.
I mean, I'm not going to get it. I don't need it.
No.
In fact, on my phone now, I noticed this week that in the bar where normally in the search bar where normally you would type something,
Yeah.
if you were searching for like NHL scores or whatever you would search for,
Yeah.
it now says in there, say, "Okay, Google."
Oh, they want you to use that.
It didn't used to say that on my phone. It says that on my phone now.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, very interesting.
So,
Soon we'll all be robots.
yeah. Exactly.
It's the wave of the future. All right, so before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new unarchived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play. I'm trying to get us on Spotify, but they're like Spotify's very elitist, so it doesn't. You can't just get on there, on your own. And if you listen to our show through Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page, where you can also leave a review. And if I spoke too fast, which I usually do at this point, you can just go to skipandjosh.com and you can see all the links to everything that I just said.
Fantastic.
Enjoy the Duke game today and enjoy the TFC game. And I'll speak to you next week.
Okay, great.
All
Thanks.
Right. Bye, Kevin.
Bye.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.